everybody? Welcome to my 100% Platinum walkthrough for Elden Ring. This will be a Platinum walkthrough of the base game, followed by a 100% walkthrough of the DLC. So following this guide, you will get your Platinum trophy. And we're going to show you guys how to do this in one single playthrough. You're going to need PlayStation Plus, so you actually are able to back up your save to do so, but it is very possible, and we're going to show you guys how to do this. So before getting started, I'm always going to recommend newer players go through a blind playthrough so you guys can experience the game for yourself. There are going to be spoilers in this walkthrough because certain quests are involved with other ones, and there's going to come times where we have to address certain things. So I want to make sure there's a spoiler warning, and also, going through a guide can kind of take away from the experience, so I'm always going to suggest a blind playthrough first. However, I understand these games are hard. They're, quite challenging. The quests are very obscure. So, my guides first and foremost will always be for new players to just help get you guys through the game. So speaking on that, my first few episodes will be a run around getting better starting weapons for every single class, a lot more healing items and talismans to get us in the best start possible. So it is going to make that much easier on you guys. So like I said, I'm typically here for newer players to just help them get through the game. We're going to go over it all. Recommend builds, boss strategies, and help you guys out. But this is going to be very, very good platinum guide, and actually, make the platinum pretty easy to get if you ask me. It's really not so bad. But let's go and jump on in and start talking about starting classes. We are playing on PlayStation 5 for those of you that are curious. So as I said, we are going to be recommending a build. However, you guys will have complete freedom. Every single build is viable. As we get to weapons that are worth talking about, I'm going to talk about what are the best weapons for every build and how to actually put those together. So you guys do have complete freedom. But I like to suggest a build, one that I think will be, make it a lot easier time on a newer player that might not know how to put a build together, right? So first up, let's go ahead and talk about Vagabond. So Vagabond is a quality build. Quality builds are builds focusing on strength and dex, so you will have access to every melee weapon in the game. You will not be able to use spells, you will not be able to use incantations, or use any weapons that scale with intelligence, faith, or arcane. However, you will be able to go from anything from like a colossal sword to daggers, every melee weapon. So it is, a really good start for a first time player, and one of the classes I could recommend for sure. I know a lot of people do recommend quality builds for your first playthrough, but I do think there's some other stuff too. Next up is Hero. So this is your dedicated strength class coming in at 16 strength. So big colossal swords, huge axes. What else? We got halberds and great shields. So really big weapons, but it doesn't have to be. So anything that scales with strength is going to work. It might just be a great sword, or like I mentioned, a halberd. There are, a lot of weapons that scale with strength that aren't colossal. So anything that scales with strength, but strength builds are more known for colossal weapons. Next up is Bandit. So Bandit is your first hybrid class, arcane and dexterity. So with dex, I like to think as dex is like a lighter, faster on your foot. So katanas and daggers and bows and what else we got? Short swords, you know what I mean? And, obviously Warrior is a dex class. I can't believe I skipped right over that. But Warrior, I wasn't going to pick it. Maybe that's why. But Warrior is your base dex class. So, you start off with two short swords, you know what I mean? So daggers, short swords, katanas, that type of thing. And that's what Bandit's focusing on, lighter, faster weapons, but also weapons that can take advantage of certain status effects such as bleed or poison. And then we have our two casters. So our astrologer is going to be spells that are casted with the staff, while prophet is going to be using a seal casting incantations. So think of these as your ranged classes for spells, right? So you're at the distance, you're just kind of popping off enemies with spells, staying back. A few buffs with the astrologer, not many. While with prophet, there's high survivability with this. You can heal yourself, buff your damage and defenses, buff your weapons with things such as fire, and cleanse status effects. On top of that, there are a lot of really good offensive incantations too. Now, the ranged of spells is going to be better, covering long distances than it will be incantations. From my own experience, mid-range and up close, Prophet does very, very, very well. But like I said, high survivability and high damage. Prophet's really, really good choice as well. Then we have Samurai. So Samurai could be another Dex class. I think it's another quality build though, because you got Strength at 12 and Dex at 15. Now, when it comes to all classes, it's really just about what you want to start with. To be completely honest, your stats are going to be completely different as you go through the game. And it's just a good starting points, right? So if you want to do a quality build and you know you want to do one, you're like, okay, 14, 13, that's a good start, right? So you're looking at what your starting stats are and what weapons you start with. The reason I bring this up because you could also do a quality build with this one at 12 strength, 15 dex, only 3 points apart. But you start with the Uchi Katana, which has bleed. You still get a shield and you get a bow with fire arrows and regular arrows. So as far as starting equipments, I mean, Samurai is a very, very, very solid choice. Very solid choice for beginners. Now we have our last two hybrid classes. So prisoner is going to be Dex Intelligence. So you're able to use your spells, but there's a lot of really good Dex weapons that have intelligence scaling. Now there's also strength weapons that have intelligence scaling. You guys are getting stuff like frostbite and magic damage. That's really nice. But I do think there's more options with Dex, and Dex has some really, really hard hitting weapons that really stand out. So I do think Dex would be a better choice. And the more dexterity you have, the faster your spells come out as well. So just, blends really well together. Then we have Confessor. So this could either go Strength Faith or Dex Faith. There's great weapons for both. The only reason to pick Strength over Dex would be to use Great Shields. Going through this game with a Faith build, melee Faith build is highly recommended. This will be one of the classes I could easily recommend. Strength Faith. You have access to a Great Shield. When enemies attack Great Shields, their sword kind of bounces off and it kind of staggers them back for a second, leaving them open for attacks. And it kind of feels like easy mode, to be honest with you. But this has the high survivability, status cleansing, healing, buffing defenses, buffing damage, weapon buffs, just such things as fire and holy, and getting scaling off that. Then you have a very, very high damage output, and one of the strongest weapons in the game happens to be, it could actually be Strength Faith or Dex Faith. But yeah, so this is very, very, very solid class. Now for the recommended build, we are going to switch it up. So on my other channel, we did Strength Faith. I'm doing that same setup I just told you about. Great shield, fire sword, is really strong. But I did notice in reading, just reading online, a lot of newer players do go to blood loss. So I kind of felt like I would mix it up. I've never done a bleed build. I've always done faith. So what I'm going to suggest is we start with the Confessor, but we're going to do Dex Arcane with a little bit of faith. So with 15 faith, we'll be able to use all the Blood Flame incantations of the game. They're very strong, they're very powerful. Yet we'll still have, with 15 faith, we can still cleanse ourselves and still buff ourselves, and buff our weapons. So we'll have all the good stuff from faith. The Arcane will give us more blood loss, and the Dex is going to let us use a lot of really cool weapons. So to mix it up, Blood Flame, Pyromancy type build, I think it'll be a lot of fun. And I think it'll be helpful because there's the blood loss for newer players, which I know they kind of lean towards. I've never done it, but I'm pretty excited to try it for sure. Besides that, you still have your pyromancy type spells. You're doing blood loss and fire damage with these types of spells, so it's really cool. I just think it's gonna be a lot of fun. So keepsake, this is your starting item. We can get all this shit throughout the world, all this stuff, excuse my language. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are going to recommend Golden Seed, but it's a really poor choice because, like I stated, we're going to go around getting a bunch of stuff at the start, and we're already going to be, up to our eyes in Golden Seed, so it's going to be a waste for us and what we're doing. So I'm going to suggest Stone Sword Keys. Stone Sword Keys let us behind locked doors. They might be hiding, nice stuff like talismans or armor, or, it's hard to tell. But if we could take that Stone Sword Key and trade it out, for a really good talisman right at the start of the game, I think that, that will be worth it. Now, there is a lot of depth in this character creator. I'm just trying to get a normal looking dude here. Don't want him too feminine, you know what I mean? Um, but, yeah, you can do a lot with it. I'm just not going to go too crazy. You just get a little regular looking dude and move on. But yeah, you can do a lot. I mean, I've seen people get extremely creative with the character creator here. Should we give him a tattoo at least, guys? Yeah, we'll give him a little head tat. Or scar or something, something. He looks kind of mean. Let's go with that. Alright, let's get a jump on in. So, like I said, very curated experience. So we are going to be skipping dialogues. We are going to be skipping cutscenes. This is stuff you need to do in your own time. As well with doing the tutorial area and getting comfortable with the combat. This is a YouTube video, meaning you can pause it and come back, once you feel pretty good about the basic mechanics and combat mechanics of the game, there is a tutorial area we're going to go through. But we have, I mean, guys, we're looking at 100 hours. A 100-hour walkthrough with the base game and the DLC. That is a long time. And that's with it being a curated experience. You know? So we have a lot to cover. So that's why, I mean, I'd love to go through the cutscenes and the dialogue. It's there's a lot here that's really cool, really neat, but we're just not going to have the time to do so. So like I said, make sure you guys do that in your own time. So first things first, R1 light attack, R2 heavy attack. Holding R2 does charge heavy, which does help to break stagger. Most enemies you have to do multiple hits like that, but it helps a lot. L1 guard, L2 will go to your skill, whatever the skill is. So if a shield has parry, it's going to go to that. If I'm at my weapon, it's going to go to that weapon skill, right? So do keep that in mind. And obviously right on your D-pads, cycles through your weapons. Left cycles through whatever there. Shields, weapons, seal. Up on the D-pad cycles through your spells, and down cycles through your quick items. And that's the main gist of it. Everything else will be in tutorial area for you. Now we are meant to die to this guy, and we'll get a rematch with him in like the second region of the game. So, if you guys are worried about taking him down, don't worry. We'll get our we'll get our payback. But just run up and kind of fuck off, let him kill us. I mean, you could take him out if you used like the samurai with the fire arrows from a distance and your regular arrows, or if you use like what was it, prophet, and you have the spear, you might be able to pull it off. So as we get down here, you're gonna see an item over there in the cliff. Don't worry about it. That's the talisman. We won't get that until about episode 4. Let's go on over your quick items. One suggestion is always keeping your heal in slot 1. Reason being, as you see all these quick item options, so you don't want to be about dead trying to get to a heal and can't get to it. So if it's in slot 1, you just hold down on the D-pad and it jumps to whatever slotted in your first slot. So just like a good little tip for surviving in this game. So we are going to just blow through this tutorial area together. Like I said, I'd go over your own time. Lock on. We just got too much stuff to do. So sorceries, incantations. It's just like melee weapons, so if you have a staff in your hand, it's going to cast with R1 instead of swinging a weapon. Dodging on circle, obviously. There's your guard counters to get a lot of damage in, so if you can't parry, because in this game it's not like Assassin's Creed where you just like hit L1 at the last second. No, you have the time to swing up your shield with the swing of their weapon. But if you can learn that, parries can be quite powerful. So you're going to notice over here we have materials, so you can gather materials. Different regions do have different crafting stuff, so do keep that in mind. But crafting is a big part of this game, or at least it can be, depending on what you're doing. So triangle R1 is going to two-hand your right weapon. Triangle L1 is going to two-hand your left weapon. So if you want to do something with that, there you go. Do something. Let's get this guard counter. So if you can't parry, you want to get a good defensive attack. Really easy to just hold up your shield, and when they hit it, when they bounce off, you just hit R2. You get a guard counter. That is a really nice substitute for parrying. Now we'll probably be doing a guard. I'm big on parrying, but with a walkthrough perspective, we'll probably be going with guard counter playstyle. No skill on a shield, so we can get right to our Astral Board whenever we want it. Guard counters is easy enough for anyone who's trying to get down. So because of that, I think it'd be more helpful, right? That's talking about your skills, so we'll show that off. Now this is a 2-off skill, meaning holding L2 doesn't go straight to the skill, it goes to the stance. Now holding L2 and hitting R1 does one thing, R2 does something else. So that's your R2, it's going to be your harder hitting attack. If I were to hit R1, does something else. So this is kind of teaching about your stealth. Crouch. Get behind with the backstab. The backstabs and criticals are about the same damage. So you're going to get criticals from doing parries or breaking the stagger from the front. If you get behind them, you can get your backstab in. And you can even do that if they know you're there. Like if you just circle around an enemy, you can just straight circle around somebody and, get behind them to get a backstab in. This is talking about stance breaking. So whether you do a charged heavy or a jumping heavy, both of these are going to break stance. Charged heavy is going to do better, to be completely honest. Yeah, it's like so much stuff back to back to back. I feel like I just can't breathe telling you all about all this stuff, you know. Alright, Stakes of America. These are usually in front of a boss door. If you die, this is a respawn point. So you don't have to go all the way back to your sites of grace. Now, next up, Rick, Soldier of God. So this guy's really tough. I think we can kind of cheese him here. Just hold up our shield. Wait for him to attack. Get a guard counter. Get a critical. He's tough, you know, real tough dude here. Alright, now we can go on out, get our gesture, and then be done with the Cave of Knowledge. Now we're going to go on out that door ahead of us and get on out into the open world. Before we can go on out there, I want to tell you guys this, if you're a newer player, just keep in mind, this is not a linear game. If you decide to play this like one, you're probably going to have a bad day, right? It's not set up that way. It's a Souls game anyways. Like, they don't work that way. So I just want to give that warning. Right here, you can see this has a fog wall. Right here, this is where you use Stone Sword Keys at. So like I said, with the Stone Sword Key, we can go down this dungeon right now and get Talisman that's really nice, or other items as well. However, that key in particular leading to that dungeon is quite formidable at this time with no health. So we're going to wait and do that here in a bit. Multiplayer items we just picked up, and the Finger Severer lets you leave multiplayer. So if you use that, you kind of just be able to leave the world where the invasion or the multiplayer is happening. Let's go on out to our open world and talk to. Alright, so do not attack this guy. I'm not sure what people do. He doesn't have a weapon. He's not trying to attack you. And he's an extremely important NPC. He lets us into an in-game area very, very early, by the time we get to our second region even, and that leads us to a Somber 10, the last upgrade stone for a special weapon. So we have a plus 10 weapon by the time we're in the second region. Like, typically you wouldn't have that till the end of the game. I mean, I don't have to tell you why that's going to be so important. It's going to make us very strong. Just going to talk to him, exhaust all dialogue always. Doing this, there's certain items that are hidden behind, these guys' dialogue or quests or, stuff you'll miss. Just keep going through it. Alright, talks about Godric, you're good to go. Now that guy down there on the horse, don't fuck with him. In fact, I had him in mind when I was telling you this is not a linear game. While myself and other players that have quite a bit of hours could probably take him right now, it wouldn't be easy. Yeah, I mean, he hits you one time, you're dead. So, you're not ready for him, don't even bother with him. So after that, though, we are going to go on over here. Staying to the left of the church, grab a smithing one right here. Now that's Kale. Now we're about to talk to him, but we want to go grab something real quick to sell to him. Because he's got a crafting book and he's got some cracked pots. Because of that, I want to get them from him. I'm going to have 600, so if you didn't go through the tutorial area, you don't have any rooms. And one of the main reasons I did the tutorial area, just to give you guys a quick rundown, but also there was that gesture, I didn't want to miss anything, but also to get those 600 rooms so we could buy some stuff. So if you were to talk to him, get his dialogue, and ask for a recommendation, he's going to recommend you get a crafting kit. And with the crafting kit, we're actually able to craft stuff. We'll get a lot of recipes, these cookbooks. You can buy up all this stuff from NPCs as you meet them. If you want to farm in between episodes and buy it all up, you can. But they all have different stuff. A cookbook allows us to actually craft items, so it's really, really, really nice. It's one crack pot. Let's go ahead and sell that. Anything else I don't want? I want to sell. We get so many of these. It's not quite enough for both, though. Try and come up with just get all that he has, But we don't really have anything else we can sell, so let's not worry about it. But yeah, if you're trying to craft or collect everything in the game, you can go through, just farm up the souls. Now, I don't recommend farming for levels. We will never recommend that. We're just going to show you how to go through the game like you're supposed to, slowly, clearing all areas, getting all items, and, naturally getting your levels up in a healthy manner, as I do believe farming for levels will ruin the experience for you. My first time playing this game, I did it. I was struggling, and I regretted it and started the game all over. It's just, I learned. It took me a while to learn, but I learned that it's just best to naturally go through this game and play it like any other game. It's different, it has different mechanics, sure, but just go through it. Your levels will come, and it's the best way to experience the game. You're going to have a much better time with it. Get that backstab on him. Kukri. So we're not actually doing content yet, but these guys are right here. And to be honest, this is the only way you're going to get armor in this game for a very long time. So armor sets aren't going to come before like 20 hours, you know. It's unfortunate, but you know the only way to actually get armor is to farm enemies who have armor pieces you like. We'll eventually find them, and when we do start finding armor, we're going to find it left and right, back to back to back. But it just doesn't come for a long time. The game's really, really big. So moving forward, we're going to stay to the left side of this little village here. Whatever the hell you want to call it, just stay to the left of it. I'm going to go right here. So this is a pivotal side of Grace right here. What we want to do is make sure you rest. Talk to Melina. Melina is going to be an NPC that's heavily involved with the story. Also, she's going to give you your horse. And she's also going to let us respec, or not respec, but level up. Without her, we cannot do so. So make sure you accept her offer. Without this, you don't get a horse and you can't level up. It's going to be a very hard time for you, I assure you. Very hard time. So typically, I would tell you, let's change it from nighttime to daytime, because there's nighttime enemies we're just not ready for yet. But we have to go somewhere really quick, and it's going to turn at nighttime anyway, so there's just no point. Now, real quick, on the map, if you look closer, you're going to see these little pillars. If you see that, that's where your map fragments are. So every time you get one of these, you'll unveil more and more of the map. However, for now, we need to jump back over here to the Church of Ella and get our spirit summons. Now, I don't typically use spirit summons, so I'm going to try to, you know, for the walkthrough, I'm going to try to remember to do so I can, you know, just make sure you guys remember to do so and use, you know, different walkthrough tactics to make everything easier for people.
I'd heard and upon look the talk thou art was to call forth.
So I can call the Spectral Steed.
I was entrusted by torrents.
Alright, Spirit Crown Bell, Lone Wolf Ashes. So when it comes to this stuff and equipping it,
how long will it be for the time?
Just a recommendation, you guys do what you want, do whatever feels comfortable at the end of the day. But as far as the whistle for Torrent, I'm putting down my fourth because we get another flask here in a minute. It's actually really cool. It kind of lets you mix up your own potions and stuff. There's 2 different effects you can put in at a time. You are reliant of finding different tiers, different, you know, ingredients throughout the world to add to it, but it gives you temporary buffs for about 3 minutes. Might be more to fire damage, more stamina recovery speed, or, you know, different stuff. So that way we can put all our flasks together, and then you get your horse right after. It might make it easier. Also, if you go over here to your pouch, hit triangle or Y on Xbox, you can come down here and equip it. So, but think about it. If you have this on your quick items, right, you're going to have to cycle through it. For me, all I do is hit triangle and up. Bam, I'm summoning. That's it. Just triangle and up on the D-pad. That's it. Real fast, right? Look how fast you put away. Real fast, real convenient. Alright, so from there, let's jump back over to the gate front and get your map. And if you miss this step for whatever reason of getting your spirit summoning bell and all that shit, don't worry about it. Because you could actually buy at the Round Table Hold for like 100 rooms. You know, it's not a big deal. So you can still get it, you know. I mean, because personally, I could see how someone would not to think to go back there unless they're trying to. My first playthrough, I did it because I was going back to college to try to buy something. I think I was wanting that armor after I killed a couple guys or something, so that's how I, you know, knew to go there. Alright, get guard counter on him. Now, we're not doing content yet, we're not going to clear stuff out. But we can get a pretty nice greatsword right here. And it's only a few items here, so let's just grab them all. Really nice greatsword. Unfortunately, we do not meet the stats requirement for it yet. So going on the left side of the map, if you want to farm these guys, their shields are really good. One of the best shields in the game. One of the best shields in the series. Honestly, it's crazy because just basic soldiers have it, but no shit, it is one of the best. Yeah, we did get our map. Let's try to draw these guys this way. We're going to run past them if we don't get murdered. And you're going to see that little wall on the right. It's probably better on Torrent. Run through here and just go right behind here. So going down here gets you your first ash report and then the wet blade to actually, put those on and change affinities. Later on we'll get more affinities so we can put fire on weapons, frostbite on weapons, magic on weapons, blood loss on weapons, I mean poison, you name it, we could do it. But you have to get more wet blades for that. So from there we're gonna grab torrents, come around here. Well, we'll get Side of Grace first, just in case we get killed. But there's only one more item in gate front, so if we get it now, there's just gonna be no point in coming back, right? So it just makes the most sense. L3 kind of jump off torrent, that'll be fun. Alright, then here's a flail. It's just gonna have blood loss, obviously. That's a flail, right? So there you go. Now we can move forward. So we're gonna just kind of get on this main road here. We're gonna hop off on the left for this, or off the right for this. But for the time being, this is like, our compass. We're always trying to stay by the main road. So when you get on up to your telescope, go to the left, go up to this item, but don't pick it up for the time being. Because if you look straight, you can see that little bush. I just want to make sure, navigating the way so everyone would see the same thing.
Yeah, you there.
We're going to go up and smack this. As I said, we're trying to do all the quests you could possibly do in a single playthrough. So that includes Bach. So we're going to go and talk to Bach. We have freedom from his spell, so he's going to give us 10 mushrooms.
Oh, when they... And so this is all I hope. Or I couldn't, then not. Right.
Make sure you exhaust all of his dialogue as always. This will move him on to his next spot. So he's going to go back to the cave he's from to try to, pay us for freeing him. It's the same cave he was kicked out of by his own people, and they're going to beat the shit out of him, so we'll have to go avenge him, and it'll lead us to some stuff. So, and this quest isn't that important. Honestly, you don't really get much from it at all. But still, we're going to cover it. I mean, I couldn't imagine doing a walkthrough without trying to at least cover all the quests. I mean, typically there might be one or two you miss because things, interfere with each other, but at least you gotta try, But yeah, quests in general, trophies aren't really related to those. So just off to the right, you can go get your first Somber Smithing Stone 1. So Somber Stones are to upgrade special weapons, while regular stones upgrade regular weapons. Now we're going to go to the left of the road and go on up this hill. This is going to get you your first golden pickle foulfoot. Now these, you find them. It's not like you're going to find them all the time. I'd say they're more rare for sure. But that's, if you want to farm, don't recommend it, but if you're struggling, I get it, right? That gives you 30% more runes when you're killing enemies. So if you want to farm, you're going to want to use items like that. So you don't have to farm for as long. Now we're just kind of following this around, guys. Get back over here on the main road, and just to the right, you can barely see it, but it's actually a Side of Grace right over there in those bushes. And we want to get this because there's an Everdrill fight right over there, and we do want to come back this episode, like in a few minutes, to fight this guy. So because of that, okay, sorry guys, I had to check out my notes. Okay, so this is where your Everdrill fight's gonna be. We're not doing it yet. We can go over there and grab your golden rune too. It's not gonna hurt. Okay, so if you follow this main road all the way down, it's gonna take you to Weeping Peninsula. We're not gonna go there yet, but as soon as you get right about here, jump to the left. So what we're doing now is we're just going to go pick up some more consumable runes. We're going to get some Sites of Grace, a map, or flask, and do a quest that's going to lead to the best quality weapon in the game, and the weapon we're going to use for the first half of the game. At least, recommended. You guys can do what you want. But for us, what we're recommending, it's going to go really nice with, what we're trying to do. So if you go down here, you're going to see a graveyard. Now, graveyards you will find all throughout the world, and at graveyards, as you see, they're going to be covered in runes. The later in the game they are, the bigger the runes you're going to find. Now, I like to save these. I mean, you could pop them for, you know, levels right now. You wouldn't get that many levels, but you could. However, it's better to save them for shopping. So when I say shopping, what I mean is upgrading your weapon, buying armor sets or any cookbooks from any merchants. Or maybe you just sort of level and you're about to enter a boss fight. You know, and you don't want to risk those runes you have accumulated. So instead, you just pop a couple of those. You have enough to, you know, reach a level. Because if you don't know what boss you're fighting, you don't know what the chances are you're going to die. That's the way I would think of it. Alright, so Fort Height, west side of Grace. We're going to have to come back and do this fort in 2 episodes, so just go and grab it now. So these first episodes are going to come really fast. After that, it's going to slow way down. We're going to be clearing areas in full and making sure we have everything, but there's a lot of stuff to do these first 3 episodes. A lot to get you guys in a good spot, you know. So we go over here to your right, you talk to a merchant. Some starter stuff, nothing too... He's got one thing I would get, and that's this. It does cost 2,000. So you have to come back later. Exalted flesh. But I mean, you look, you got arrows, consumables, some stones. We'll get plenty of these, don't worry about it. But this does let you get the exalted flesh, which is a consumable. It lasts for 3 minutes, but it does boost your damage by like 20%. So that would be the one and only thing I could see, you know, recommending for anybody. Now, if we go on down the main road here, we're going to see a ruin to your left. So let's go and crouch. Because there's a room bear over here. I know everybody hates room bears. They're not so bad, but we don't have the health to fight one yet. But if we were to go down the stairs here, we can get our first talisman. So this talisman is the Axe Talisman. It is actually going to boost the damage on charged attacks. So if you're doing that kind of playstyle, you can go ahead and throw that on. But we're about to go get a really, really, really powerful talisman really soon here. So because of that, we're not putting it on just yet. What we really want to do here, though, guys, I guess we should go handle it now. No, all right, we'll do it in a second. What we're really wanting is to hear that wolf howling. It's actually a guy, it's an NPC, and hearing that is going to kind of trigger the start of his quest. So move forward, get your map. Kind of do a U-turn. What we're going to do is we're going to grab this item straight ahead, then we're going to swing all the way to the left and go right behind that tree here. So it's going to do that now. And usually the bear won't even notice. He's just chilling. Did we talk about... Hold on, guys, because... Alright, so if you guys noticed, we killed that scarab over there on the bridge and it dropped Ashes of War. So those scarabs will drop spells, incantations, Ashes of War, or Somber Stones. If they're red like this, they're going to refill your health. If they're blue, they're going to refill your mana. Now, I want to make sure I talked about that because I just don't remember if I did, and it's important stuff. Alright, so from here, just wrap around the tree, you're going to see this building. We're going to go in here. This is just an elevator that takes you to the underground region. This is the longest elevator in the world, so be ready for it. But, you know, it's the first underground region. So, on top of doing all the stuff you do in the main game, the main world, there are several underground regions. This is going to be your first. Now, we could come down here, and we could do a lot of stuff, get a lot of items and stuff. It's just really high level, so it's best to wait. And it's not high level in general, it's just high level for what we are right now, right? So, I feel like I better mention that. But there's stuff. There's a few spells. There's a lot of earlier upgrade mats, and there's like one Somber 5, which is really cool. But it might be a big risk. We're just getting people killed. Not to mention, we have a lot of stuff to do, and you know, might be a big waste of time. I'd love to fit it in because there are, you know, a few good items here, but I mean, we're already spending the first 3 hours of the game just running around. It's a long time. We're probably almost through with our first episode now. Yeah, 34 minutes. Alright, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and jump back to the Church of Ella. You guys are see why I do walkthroughs. These quests are so obscure sometimes. It's crazy. So if we talk to Kale here, ask about the Howling of Mistwood, he's gonna tell you about Blythe.
Next time you hear, don't fret. I just
He's gonna give you a gesture. That's finger snap. We need to put that on. So if you're on Xbox, you go down to gestures, hit Y, and PlayStation's obviously gonna be triangle. Put on finger snap. Then we jump back over to Fort High West. Like I said, I mean, you could easily find everything I know of yourself if you just go through, read every single item description, talk to every single NPC, and a lot of it's like something will be mentioned now, but it won't come up for like 30, 40 hours, and you're supposed to remember, oh, I heard this from an NPC, or I read this off that sword, and that's kind of how you put these pieces together on your own, right? But it is still very obscure, very hard to do, and it takes a long time. I'm able to do a walkthrough because I've played this game a lot. I got a platinum on it, and then I spent another 150 hours taking notes. So that's how. But there's a lot that goes into this because this shit is pretty complicated to figure out, and mainly the quests more than anything else. This is actually probably the easiest platinum I've ever got. It's just find everything, kill every boss, and get your endings. That's it.
The name's Blood. He fled someone. Come tell me if I can offer you. Darrowell, and in need of a.
Alright, so that's the dialogue we want from him. So we are going to take out Darrowell, but first, let's go back to the Third Church of America. So we have not been here yet. To get here, we're just going to follow the main road on down. This is where our Flask of Wondrous Physic is. That's like that flask I was telling you about where we can just like make our own potions. So we are going to go grab that. And our next tier for it. So we got the first two. One increases stamina, and one is going to increase the damage of charged attacks. So it does the same thing as the Axe Talisman, but in a flask instead. These are early on ones. They're going to get much, 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 much better when we get to that point. You know what I mean? But we're just not there yet, unfortunately. Alright, so as you go back, you're going to run into the church, or the Third Church of America. What you want to do is go right here, grab your Flask of Wondrous Physic, and grab your Crimson Crystal tier. That's going to restore half of your total health. But you have heals, so it's not the best, but I guess, give you an extra half a heal, right? It's early. Like I said, the earlier ones aren't the best, but they are something. So for now, let's go and put in our Sacred Tiers. The Sacred Tiers are going to increase the amount that flasks heal you, while Golden Seeds give you more flasks. So do keep that in mind. You could also, you could allocate these. So if you're doing more of a mage build, you can go heavier in mana, or you can go heavier in health for melee. But even melee, you have summons, you have Ashes of War. I would highly suggest at least keeping one. Besides that, Mixed Wondrous Physic. So early on we only have a few choices. We're just going to go with stamina and charged attacks, as we already have heals, right? We're not too worried about it. Now from here, we want to jump back over to Aguila Lake South. We're going to go grab one of the best weapons in the game right at the start. I mean, it's for quality builds. It doesn't do anything, crazy elemental-wise, but it's just a solid greatsword. Quality builds, best weapon in the game for you guys, most likely. And it's just fun. Just go and enter Everjails. So Everjails are what they sound like. They're jails. Dimensional jails, you interact with them, you get sent down into them, then you have your fight. So since we have talked to Blythe, you can summon him. Don't think you need to. It's not that bad, but it is part of a quest. So they won't come up on you until you approach them. So that purple, that's going to be the guy, but if you don't approach him, he won't show up on you. So just kind of wait for Blythe, use him. He's going to stagger him left and right. This is pretty much Blythe's fight, but he will need to heal. That was that parry I just got. Kicked his ass, huh? If he's like do a 3 count when he does a 3 swipe, she'll always land that parry. Come on, Bob, I'm trying to show some up. That's why I don't like summon, so it's just get in my way. But whatever. You get it. So you just do like a little 3 count when he gets to his 3rd swipe. Just hit a parry. Pretty much landed every time. This Bloodhound Knight. That gives you Bloodhound Spang. Phenomenal weapon. Alright guys, sorry about that. I had to go over my notes and had to let my kitten in. So, Bloodhound Spang. Phenomenal weapon, one of the best weapons in the game. This is going to be for quality build, strength, and dex. Now, like I said at the start, quality builds are usually, designed for newer players who don't know what they want to do yet. So they start quality, then they either start to lean towards either strength or dex, right? But in this game, there's a few weapons that do scale with both things, so it's very, very viable. So we're going to put this on. We're not going to reach the stats for it just yet, but we're going to fix that with our talisman. So, strength and dex builds, this is perfect. Any build, this is really good to buy you some time until you get something better. For the simple fact, it's just really good, and you can respec later on. So, getting to 18 strength and 17 dex, it's just going to be really, really nice. But you're looking at 55 blood loss, C scaling, and dex. So the higher the dex, the more the damage. As you upgrade that, that's going to change. I think the strength ends up going to like C, and dex would be at like B or A or something. So it's, perfect for quality. That's how this works. So physical 141, that's the base damage of the weapon. As long as you meet the stat requirements, you're going to get that 141 no matter what. The minus 56 comes from your scaling. So however much strength and dex you have, is going to contribute to that. Eventually that'll be like 250, 350. So, that's how weapon scaling works, but it's not going to come in handy for a long, long time. Mainly our damage will be coming from upgrades. But this is a really good weapon. Big beefy attacks. You get 55 blood loss build up. The charged heavies are really cool and unique. And the second's a double slash. But the Ash of War is where it really shines, and this is why first time players, came to this weapon so much. Because you can do a swipe and you get out of the way, right? Hit R2, you follow up and do a big attack. But being able to hit them and create some distance isn't really the worst thing, It's a really, really powerful weapon. And it's one of the only somber weapons that can be buffed.
Right. I'll have to work for it. Don't say I'm not. Oh, yes. If you venture north to Raya Lucaria and come across a venerable blacksmith who's a little on the line, tell him I sent and he'll be sure to...
So make sure you get all of his dialogue. We need that recommendation for EG. That's going to allow EG to sell us a talisman. Now, I think if you do like EG and Ronnie's questline later, you could also get that talisman. But with that piece of dialogue, you can get it much sooner. It's going to like lessen the cost of your spells, right? So from here, we're going to jump back over to the Third Church of America. And we are going to, what do we want to do? Yeah, I guess we'll go for the book. So there's a craft book up here that lets you craft sleep pots. I think it's a little cheesy tactic, but, they put it in the game first and foremost, right? So it's meant to be used. And also, if you're a newer player, it can be quite helpful, guys. If I was to be completely honest, it can be quite helpful. But there's also some other runes up here. Now, I've never used sleep pots. I would never suggest them, as I do find it a bit cheesy. However, at the end of the second region, there's a boss. If we could all get past this boss, we could all get plus 10 weapons. If some of us can't, the newer players that can't get past this guy aren't going to be able to upgrade their weapons. So, to them higher tiers. So we're going to probably use the sleep pots to help everyone get past them to ensure the people that need these upgrades the most get them. If I'm not proud of it, it's going to help newer players to ensure everyone can get past this guy, because anyone can do this method, So I do want it for that. So let's go ahead and talk to Kenneth, get every bit of his dialogue.
I met him honestly first, then he and to think what my fault.
Alright, so we're good there. Let's go on up here, get more runes and the cookbook. So the Farrier's cookbook. Like I said, it does allow you to craft sleep pots. But walk around here, running around, however you decide to do it, and get your runes as well. things add up. Like, I mean, you could pop all these right now and get a few levels. We're not gonna. We don't really need to, but you can. You know. There's one. We're actually about to go to Caelid next. So Limgrave, 2/3 of Limgrave is done. The top portion we're just gonna do at a later time, like on the way to the Earnia, because it just makes sense to do. So what we're doing here is just run around all 3 first areas of the game, getting everything we can to help us out. So we're going to Caelid next to get some good stuff. We're going to do all of that. Then we're going to jump down to Weeping Peninsula to get some stuff. And that's all going to be in next episode. Then the 3rd episode is just going to the area for maps and, you know, a bunch of upgrades. That's how we're going to upgrade all the stuff we're getting. So from the 3rd Church of America, what we want to do next is actually go behind the church in the bushes over here. You'll be able to find a transporter that sends you to the very top of Caelid. This is an extremely high level zone, a mid-game zone. So recommended level 110, I think it is. So we're not gonna fight anything. Now lower Caelid's not so bad, but it's gonna put you right in front of the Bestial Sanctum. So we want to open this door, going in, get the side of grace. There's an NPC here, Rank. We're gonna get started on this quest here shortly. Now this quest takes place over the entirety of the game, bringing him items, but you can get started on it soon. And doing this quest gets you some good stuff. It gets you. So if you're doing like a pure melee build but want to use some incantations, this guy gives you a lot of incantations. You only need like 10 and 11 faith for, so it lets melee builds have some incantations as well. But from there, we're going to go on down, grab your golden seed. Now next time we rest, Melina is going to show up and tries to take us over to the Round Table Hold. We will get the trophy, our first trophy for traveling there. But we don't want to do it yet, because I at least want to grab a talisman for us, so that we're actually able to, you know, use this weapon. By putting it on, it gives us 23 levels, we'll be able to use this weapon. So I am going to pop this. Only one for 2,000. It's going to give us over 4. So it should give us at least the levels I want to, you know, get for our build. So we want Faith at 15, which is pretty much going to be our stopping point for the suggested build for all Blood Flame incantations. I think it goes 15 or 17 at most to use all of them in the game, which is really nice. You don't need much Faith, right? And we want to at least get 10 Arcane for some weapon buffs we're going to be picking up. So Faith and Arcane. So Faith's pretty much done for the, you know, the game. And we want to at least have 13 in Strength. So we're about to get a talisman that boosts 5 strength, dex, vigor, and endurance. So our weapon has an 18 strength requirement, 17 dex requirement. So add 5 to that, that'll be 18. Add 5 to that, that's 17. 15 faith lets us use all the incantations we want for this build, and 10 arcane is going to let us use our weapon buffs when we pick them up. And it's really good, really worth doing. But you see, now all we're trying to do is reach requirements we need to use spells and weapons right now. Besides that, we're done. So we're going to be going to health, mind, and endurance until, you know, those stats are pretty much done for the entirety of the game. We wanted to get base stats knocked out first. Damage does not matter until a long time, until about 30 hours into the game. That's when, so pretty much after the capital, so like 40 hours in the game, almost 50. After the capital, that's when the difficulty spike comes up. And that's when you want to have fully upgraded weapons and get the most you can out of weapon scaling and damage scaling. But until that point, pretty much just having your weapon upgraded, that's where, you know, all your damage is going to come from. So since we don't have to worry about damage stats for a while, we should get our health as high as we can possibly get it, our stamina high enough for weight limit, and, you know, mind high enough to actually cast an incantation to get all your base stats pretty much wrapped up. I say pretty much, because we're going to get them pretty up there, but, you know, it's going to come to a time where we want to get back into our damage stats for a bit. Then mid-game, we might go put five more levels in each of your base stats. But from there, just run all the way down, guys. Get to your Spirit Springs. The Spirit Springs are currents, and it lets you jump up on a higher platform. They can also be used to jump down, so you don't take fall damage as long as you jump in that current. You do not have to be straight over it. The current kind of blows to the side a little bit, so just as long as you see that you're in the current, you won't take any fall damage. So it's really nice. So we're gonna go here. If you have enough for a soul, go ahead and get it before you go in. This is undoubtedly a suicide run, so do keep that in mind. It's not bad. We're not going to die a bunch of times here. We're just going to die at the end because it's just easier to get out that way. So as you go in, go to the left, run all the way back. You're going to see that you're poisoned, but it's not going to matter. We'll be out of here before this poison kills us. Poison, you know, it takes down your health so slow that it's just not a problem, right? So, now we can go on up, pop this chest for half of the Dectus medallion. That's going to get you into a mid-game area. Not going to matter for quite a while, but we're here, so it'd be pointless not to grab it, that's for sure. So as you go up here, you want to run to the far right, so hopefully you don't trigger too many of these guys. One typically spawns in, and when you get here to the far left, go down, drop in the hole. We're going to do a U-turn. This part's the part where it's tricky to explain to you guys. So beyond this wall is where we want to go. There's an item there, so don't get hit by him. We're going to run up, grab the item, turn around, then, oh, don't let anything hit you, and jump to the left. Alright, so that's the hardest part. So in here, there's a really big rat, a little rat. We want to avoid them and drop into this hole to the right. It's like right in the center here. Drop down, turn around, grab the talisman, get killed. They're so high level, one hit, it's just gonna one shot you. Look at that, from a rat, of all things. But we got what we came for, and that's what matters. Okay, now we got that. We can do two cool things here. So putting that on, now our health has went up 5, our endurance has went up 5, our strength has went up 5, and our dex has went up 5. So when you look at your weapon, now you're able to use it. It's not, you know, doesn't have red over it anymore. So if you don't have the stat requirements, you'll see red, you know, a little red X. Now you meet stat requirements as long as we have this on. So this is helpful, but it does lower your resistances. It's going to make you take more damage. Now this is viable up to about level 100. So when we get, and it's going to be a long time, so you can use it for quite a while. But we do want to eventually take this off and replace those stats in health, replace those stats in endurance, strength, and dex as needed for your build, your weapon requirements, and you know, keeping those base stats high. But for a long time, it's going to be very useful to us. As you see, now we can use our weapon, and the Ash of War is going to look different now because we use the stats to meet the requirements. Now you see you kind of teleport. Pretty cool, right? Also, the room we just picked up there, I told you we're going to save these. This one's big, 7,500. So we can go and pop that. Grab some more levels. So we get mine to 15, so I can kind of just forget about it for a while. After that, it's just going to be health and stamina. I'm going to try to get mine to 20, 25 in-game's a good place. But really, we want to get health to 40, endurance to 20, and mine to 20. Then we'll be good to go on our damage. So that's what we're aiming for, right? Now you meet those stat requirements. Looking at the time, we're at 52 minutes. So we're going to kind of stop here. Next episode, we'll be going to get the top map fragment, the bottom, to all the map fragments of this area, some upgrade mats, a fire ash of force, some new weapons, staff for mages, spell for mages, somber stones, you name it. So we're just going to go, and that's what we're doing, just like we did Dungrave. So our first 3 episodes is going through this whole region, getting all your maps, getting everything that's just laying out in the world to help us out. We're going to do the same thing in Caelid, Weaving Peninsula, and Liurnia. After that, there's a big lift that takes you to like a mid-game area. So just the first 3 regions, because Weaving Peninsula is nothing but an extension of Limgrave. It's the same region, right? Different portion. But so we're going to go through the first 3 regions, getting all, we're getting better starting weapons for every single build other than what you started with, right? Getting a bunch of golden seeds, sacred tears, getting you up to at least 7 class before we even start doing content. Having enough upgrades to get on up to level 10 basic weapon or level 5 somber weapon, which is huge. We're going to get incantations for buffs. We're going to get spells, offensive incantations, fire ashes of war, and frostbite ashes of war. So we have something for everybody, whether you're a mage, strength, quality, dex, faith, we got you covered. So you guys stay tuned, and we'll see you back here next episode to continue along our path preparing for our journey.